How's it going, my lovely light seekers? As you know, I am Genevieve, the practical intuitive healer. Boom, boom, boom. So today's video is about a question that I get so often, and that is, what are my spirit guides? Who are they? How can I contact them? So let's just jump right into it. The first thing we need to define is, who are your spirit guides? What are these mythical spiritual things that are hanging around? So spirit guides are beings that are not in a body, and all of us have them to some extent. Some of us maybe only need one. Some of us come in with like 8. You can have a multitude of spirit guides depending on the kind of person you are, depending on the kind of life that you signed up for when you were born into this very funny, dense earth plane. But that's the basic definition. It's simply a being that is not in a body, that has a kind of spiritual contract with you to help you throughout your life. There will never be a time in your life, in this life that you have on the earth right now, that your spirit guide would be born and come into a body. I mean, I guess technically that could happen, but I don't think so. It doesn't happen very often. So this is to say that some spirit guides are beings who have been on the earth before. I would say actually most of them are beings who have been on the earth before and will probably come to the earth again and be in a human body. That's to say that you also, at some point in your soul's lineage, have probably been a spirit guide to someone else who was in a body while you were not in a body. Mind-blowing, just think about that. But another common thing is people think, are my spirit guides angels? Are they fairies? Are my spirit guides people from my life that have passed over, like parents and grandparents or close friends? And the answer to that question is also yes. Your spirit guides can be angels, but the angel topic is like a whole nother thing in and of itself. But a lot of times, sometimes we will have angelic guidance. We'll have specific angels that just kind of know us and that we feel a vibe with, and they can kind of act sometimes as spirit guides. Although I will say that angels, you don't usually have this kind of contract with that you might with your regular spirit guides. They're more just like general, I'm here to help the earth, and they'll have kind of pods of people that they're kind of helping that just, they kind of have the same mission, these people and that angel. So there's that. And then the people that you know from life that have passed over, those people can also act as spirit guide-esque beings once they pass over. If you had a particularly strong bond with a person when they pass over, they might kind of come in as like an extra guide in a way. But usually what I've noticed is that when people come to me and they have someone that's passed over, a loved one that's passed over that's around them, usually that person is acting more as like a protector and yeah, kind of maybe giving some extra guidance. But in terms of the definition of who and what your spirit guides are, they're usually beings not in a body, that you've never known in body in this lifetime. And they're just, you have like this fun contract that you have both agreed that you're gonna do this life with their guidance. So that brings me to the next thing. So if we have these spirit guides and, we have a bunch of them apparently, what is it that they are doing for us? How are they helping us to live our life? And the clearest answer I can give on that is that they are helping you stay in the flow of the bigger, wider, universal energy, and they're helping you to stay on track for the plan that you intended to have for this life. And I'm not going to go into what that means in terms of like the plan you intended for this life, because that's a whole nother video in and of itself about the things that we signed up for when we signed up to come back to the earth plane, be in a body again, and the things that are in our plan. But I'll say that the guides are here to help us remember what that plan is and to help us go through a lot of the lessons that we signed up for. And when we're really off track, our guides will help us to kind of get back to where we need to do. So I know what your next question is how do they do this? How do they reroute us, or how do they help us to stay in this greater flow of the universe? And they do that in a lot of ways. One, they can do it by triggering a feeling experience in you. Spirit guides a lot of the time can really have an effect on your thoughts by giving you what I call downloads or intuitive thoughts. And I actually made another video about how to understand when you're having an intuitive thought. That's in another video. So they will help you to have these downloads, these intuitive thoughts. And those intuitive thoughts will sometimes trigger an idea in you, or sometimes a feeling if you're needing to have a different feeling experience. Bub is having a different feeling experience right now. So, cool. What are you doing, Bub? Do you want to be in the video? I know, Bub. Okay, Bub really wants to be a part of this part, so here he is. So, okay, back to what I was talking about. They can trigger a different feeling experience in you or a different thought experience in you. They also play a really big role in leading you to new situations, new experiences, or even just the right situation or the right experience that you need in that moment. But one of the coolest and biggest things that spirit guides can help you with is they tend to conspire with other people's spirit guides when you need to meet a particular person. So say you have come to a time in your life where it's like, boom, it's time to meet the love of your life. Your spirit guides will usually be conspiring with their spirit guides to help the two of you meet. But that doesn't mean it's just about romantic relationships. It happens all the time whenever you're meant to meet the right person that you need in that time of your life. Your spirit guides will help lead you to those people. So that brings us to, how can we contact our spirit guides? And the response I have for you to that is, you're asking the wrong question. It's how can you allow them to contact you more consciously? Because you are constantly in contact with them and you really just don't know it. Part of that is for your own good, because it would be kind of weird and kind of defeat the whole purpose of being human if we constantly had this very open dialogue with our cosmic wholeness. Part of the reason that we came to the earth to have this experience in a body is because we wanted to experience separateness. We learn as humans and we grow as souls by experiencing separateness, and that is what we're doing kind of here on the earth, is having that separateness and then learning lessons through it, and then also how to be whole again through separateness. Anyway, that's some deep stuff that we can get into later. Bub, are we trying to be whole? Yeah. So if we were constantly remembering our wholeness and we had this like very clear channel that was constantly open to our spirit guides and everything that we remember about the other side and about just universal energy, we would just forget about being human. We would just be like, oh, I actually don't want to be human. I want to just stay over there with the cool kids. So if we had that very clear channel, it would just defeat the purpose of being human. But even so, our guides are constantly with us and they're constantly talking to us. So when I say, how can you hear them better? What I'm saying is start noticing when things happen. And the first way you can do this is by noticing crazy coincidences in your life. And all of us have stories about this, of just like weird coincidences that happen that it's like, what are the chances of that happening? I had one happen the other day, actually, personally, where I was listening to the radio. Some song was on the radio. I don't even remember what the song was, but there was some part of the song where the guy sings you for like a super long time, like he's holding the note and he's saying you, and that part of the song was on when he was saying you, and I pulled into a parking spot, and the car right in front of me in the spot I was pulling into, the back of their car just said you on it. Like they just had a big thing on the back of their car that said you. And I was like, what are the chances that the radio is playing the word you, like holding that like you thing, at the very same time I pull up in front of someone's car and it says you real big on it. So to me, those are one of those just weird, freaky coincidences where it's like, I feel like there's a little nudge from the universe happening here. And especially in situations like that, where you hear something and see something that is like that, or it's just some sort of crazy physical coincidence like that, that's usually a sign from the universe, from your guides, that you are in the right place. Like you're exactly in the right place at the right time, and you're getting a sign that that you're right on track. Like you're exactly where you need to be, and yeah, you're just right on track. Another really crazy one that I'll tell is just my last example, is actually one that happened to a friend of mine. We had been talking that morning and he brought up a random memory that he hadn't thought of in years. It was about a memory from his college days. And the memory was about a classmate he had in college that he had totally forgotten about. And he just randomly remembered this guy and was talking to me about him. And he's older, so he hadn't been in college for like 30 years. And then later that afternoon, he called me and he was like, oh my God, you will not believe it, but that guy that I told you about this morning that I hadn't thought about in decades and hadn't seen in decades, I saw him right after we had that conversation. So that's like one of those mind-blowing things of like, how does that happen? Like you don't see someone in decades, don't even think about them. All of a sudden you briefly remember them, and then all of a sudden they just appear right in front of you decades later. So those are definitely spirit guide conspiracies where they're definitely trying to tell you something. And I think also in his situation, you know, it was a sign that's like, well, one, you're in the right place, but then also you're in the right place to do some digging on some deeper stuff, maybe about the time when he was in college and there was some stuff going on. But anyway, so thank you so much for watching my video today. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you would like to see more from me. I do videos every Tuesday and Friday.